2020 versus 2022 wide receivers for the Detroit Lions. Let's talk about it. Hello, everyone. My name is Derek, and welcome back to Detroit Lions Syndicate. You already know what we do on this channel. We talk all things about your favorite team, the Detroit Lions. So become part of the Syndicate by subscribing to the YouTube channel, hitting that notification bell if you want to be notified of every one of Detroit Lions Syndicate videos. Last year, we talked about how miserable the wide receiver room was for the Detroit Lions, having Khalif Raymond. We had Brashard Perriman. We had Terrell Williams. We had a hodgepodge of wide receivers in 2021. And we kind of knew that we were going to have a really, really bad season with our wide receiver group being one of the worst in the National Football League. It really wasn't until the acquisition of Josh Reynolds that the Detroit Lions kind of turned the corner. Now, we had Amon-Ra St. Brown, but he was a stud in the making at the time that we acquired Josh Reynolds. And then the wide receiver core kind of started to change a little bit. Now, Terrell Williams played one game for the Detroit Lions. It was like a half a game. He went down in game one, never to return. He actually got an injury settlement from the Detroit Lions. And Brashard Perriman, we wind up cutting him before the season even started. So he never took one reception for the 2021 season during the actual NFL season. And we wind up getting probably the best wide receiver in the draft, if not the first one that would have come off the board, in Jameson Williams, if he wouldn't have had that unfortunate ACL tear. So with the emergence of Amon-Ra St. Brown, the re-signing of Josh Reynolds, the drafting of Jameson Williams, and getting DJ Chark in free agency, how much better is the Detroit Lions wide receiver group from last year? I would say it is leaps and bounds better. We also retain the services of Khalif Raymond. I don't know if he'll be on kick punt return duties. We also have Tom Kennedy as of right now. We also had Quintez Cephas last year until he went down a quarter of the way in the season. So if you look back at it, I mean, the Detroit, if we would have kept Quintez Cephas, if obviously he wouldn't have got hurt, I think that the Lions wide receiver group, once we acquired Josh Reynolds, would have kind of come alive and ended the season pretty strong. But what we're going to do in today's video, we're going to compare this 2021 wide receiver core to the 2020 wide receiver core. We've already talked about the 2021 wide receiver core and how it was kind of a hodgepodge of men thrown together, a bunch of ragtag misfits kind of thrown together to make a wide receiver core. This article is coming from Eric Schlitt with the Pride of Detroit SB Nation. I think this was a very cool topic, seeing as how much we talked about the wide receiver group last year and how much it needed improvement. And we're just going to compare that to the 2020. Now, Eric is going to do a breakdown of the entire team, the 2022 team versus the 2020 team. He has a series coming up. I will definitely link that article in the description. Part 1 is already out, and that's where we're going to get this information from. But today we're just going to look at the wide receivers. Somewhere down the line, we might actually do a different group as well. I know the running back group is pretty interesting as well. But let's take a look, contrast, and compare the 2020 wide receiver core to the 2022 wide receiver core. The 2020 wide receiver group, we had Kenny Golladay as the X wide receiver. Now, the X wide receiver is typically on the line of scrimmage and flexed out wide. Often a team's number one receiver is the X receiver. We had Quintez Cephas number 2 and Chris Lacey number 3 X wide receivers. And we had the Z wide receivers, and those are as follows. Now, Marvin Jones was first on the depth chart. The Z receiver, previously known as the flanker, lines up off the line of scrimmage. This player can move in and out of the formation. These players are often speed players that don't have to worry about an immediate jam from a defensive player. We had Marvin Jones, Marvin Hall, Travis Fulgham, and Jeremy Davis. I don't even remember him. Now we have the Y wide receiver, which is often the slot. We often see this position lined up next to the tackle or slightly flexed away from the tackle. In 2020, we had Danny Amendola first on the depth chart, Jamal Agnew, Tom Kennedy, Geronimo Allison, and Victor Bolden. Now, the players highlighted in black are those who are currently still on the Detroit Lions roster. Now, if you guys remember from my other channel, I was doing Detroit Lions content back then on the Gridiron Blitz. You can go type it up. It's easy to find. I was very fond of Danny Amendola. We had just released or traded away Golden Tate the year before, and I said that Danny Amendola would be pretty much a Golden Tate kind of fill-in. He had very similar numbers to Golden Tate. And I think for what he was brought here to do, I think he did a phenomenal job. Now, if we think about the 2020 roster, most of 2020, Kenny Golladay didn't even play. He played a couple of games, went down with a hip injury, came back, went down again. He was never placed on IR and then did not play another game during the season. And then after the season was over, we were talking about whether we would re-sign him or not. He decided to take the 4-year deal with the New York Giants. Kenny Golladay wanted a 4-year deal. The Detroit Lions were only willing to offer him a 3-year deal, so he took that deal with the New York Giants. And last year, he had no touchdowns in his first year with the New York Giants. And Marvin Jones, what a steal he was from the Cincinnati Bengals. He really was our entire offense, really, in 2020. And there was some talk of trading away Marvin Jones midseason. Once the trade deadline passed and we hadn't traded him, Marvin Jones was really our offense for the 2020 season when it came to the wide receiver group. So that is the 2020 wide receiver group. Let me know what you think of that group below. Now, if we fast forward to the 2022 wide receiver group, again, the black denotes people that are still currently on the team from that 2020 wide receiver group. Now, the wide receiver will be Jameson Williams. There's no timetable on when he's going to come back. I know we heard that Peter King said he's going to miss most of the season, but I disagree. I think we could see Jameson as early as the preseason, but potentially game 1. Quintez Cephas will be second on the depth chart for the wide receiver. The Z will be DJ Chark, Josh Reynolds, Trinity Benson, and Corey Sutton. For the slot wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, Tom Kennedy, Khalil Pimpleton, Josh Johnson. Now, I think this one's kind of tough because if you look at Kenny Golladay for 2020, he wasn't really a standout because he spent most of the year injured. And Kenny Golladay has a bigger frame than Jameson Williams, but I do see Jameson Williams being the number 1 wide receiver. So I really do agree that Jameson Williams will be the X. Now, when you look at the other side, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones Jr., I have really not seen a lot of DJ Chark, and I know that Marvin Jones was a beast when he was here, especially when Kenny Golladay went down, and he was the only wide receiver we had. I mean, it seems like that every time Stafford was throwing the ball, it went to Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones took a ton of hits in the season. I remember later on in the season, caught a pass, got hit, went out for a play. I just knew he had a concussion. Next thing I know, he's back in there playing, catching passes from Matthew Stafford. I can see that being the case, that Chark is the Z wide receiver. Both tall, lanky guys that can get behind the defense. But right now, that's kind of tough because Jameson is coming off that ACL injury, and Chark has big shoes to fill if we're going to compare him to Marvin Jones. Even though I love me some Danny Amendola, I called him coming to Detroit back in 2019. I have to give this one to Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, there's no competition there between the two. St. Brown coming alive with over 90 catches. St. Brown was actually ranked, I want to say 4 or 5 among rookie wide receivers. And the people that were ranked before him were all taken in the first round. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. So Amon-Ra has to take this one hands down. But I think Danny Amendola being undrafted, I mean, I think he did more than a lot of us expected him to do. This one's going to be tough as far as the 5th and 6th wide receiver. Who's going to make the team? Who's not going to make the team? The Lions usually carry 5 to 6. I want to say the past 2 years, they've carried 6 wide receivers. So it's going to be a lot of unhappy people coming off this list, but we will have room on the practice squad as well. A lot of familiar faces we might not see anymore. If I had to make a call right now, we know Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and DJ Chark are guaranteed to be here. When it comes to the other 3 wide receivers that the Detroit Lions may carry on the roster, I believe Josh Reynolds will be there, no doubt. I think those other 2 spots are going to be a battle between Quintez Cephas, Khalif Raymond, Tom Kennedy, and we're hearing Khalil Pimpleton kind of making some noise for the Detroit Lions. Josh Johnson, Corey Sutton, and the worst trade of all time, Trinity Benson, will not be on the team come the 2023 NFL season. The only one I really don't know about is Trinity Benson. Trinity Benson is a complete and utter failure of a trade by Brad Holmes. We lost that 7th round pick. He wound up making up for it in the draft, but that was a absolute disaster. Brad Holmes says he did not trade for Trinity Benson for last year's season, but at this point, It's going to be so much competition. I'm not even sure he's going to make the team. But let me know what you think in the comments below. What wide receiver core would you prefer, 2020 or 2022? Me, myself, I love me some Marvin Jones. I love me some Kenny Galladay. But I'm going to take this year's wide receiver core, no doubt. I loved all three of them guys, really. In the 2020 season. We had some solid dudes in 2020, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. My name is Derek. This is Detroit Lions Syndicate. Y'all ready for this? Believe it or not, we have destroyed the May goal of 3,000 subscribers. We are 10 away from 3,500 subscribers for a new subscriber record on this channel. If you guys like what you see, returning viewers, subscribe to the channel for more daily NFL content. You guys are awesome. Please take care of yourself. And as always, go Lions.